What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr Wargames, and the long-awaited return for DarkWorld. Now I have finally been able to get my hands on the Mikanko cards, and I've been able to kind of physically put this demo deck together. So, without further ado, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe. If you get this video above 50 likes in the first 24 hours, I will bring you more DarkWorld content. However, I'm going to dive headfirst into profile, explain everything we've got, and introduce you to the Mikanko spice for this deck. So, pretty standard on the lineup for the main monsters, being triple rainbow, alongside double Grepher on this one. So I have decided to go with 2 Grepher rather than 3. I'm not 100% set on this yet. I might go a 2 and a 2, but I'm still kind of working out a few of the last little kinks. We've then got triple snow, pretty straightforward and simple, and that's one alongside 1 gold, 1 silver, and 1 cerulean. Now, I do want to consider Lucian in this version as well, and if I would be bumping up cerulean. You just have to be a little bit careful because you need to get a Nibiru negate on the board first before you dive too heavy into the cerulean plays, because every time you summon cerulean, it is a counter towards a Nibiru drop, basically. However, that being said, because you play the dangers, if they Nibiru drop you too early, you're still able to continue to play. And if they Nibiru drop you too late, you would have already been able to set up multiple ways of negating that Nibiru. For the last of the DarkWorld monsters, we do play triple Genta and the 2 gates. The reason I like this ratio of 3 and a 2 is gate on its own does absolutely nothing. Genta is a little bit risky considering the fact that, you know, up against Cashteras it can struggle a little bit because Genta has to go from the hand to the graveyard. So you can't actually discard it in order to get to gate. But I would much rather see a Genta in my hand than a gate, which is why I go for a 3 and a 2. There are like the very, very rare chances or the circumstances where you can actually resolve Genta 3 times in a turn. But ultimately, you don't really want to be doing that because then it means you're going to be banishing more materials from the graveyard, and I don't want to rely heavily on this. I'd rather rely more on Genta than Gate. The last DarkWorld monster we are playing is the 1 beige, and the reason we're playing the 1 beige is we are still playing 2 Fable Raven. Now, Fable Raven is just a really kind of cool tech card for the deck. Now, I'm not saying it's new or anything, it's been around for a while, but the idea behind it is it gives you very early access, not only to trigger your DarkWorld monsters' effects to regain your hand advantage, but it also allows you to get into an early Baron de Fleur, and being able to get into a Baron nice and early means you do not care about Nibiru. And if they do try to use Nibiru and you go, okay, cool, activate Baron to negate, you can ultimately get rid of Baron and find a way of bringing her back out, because then you get to recycle her and everything else you need. We are maining triple Lava Golem, and the reason we're maining triple Lava Golem is we are also maining trading. But Lava Golem is just such a cool card because going second, you've got one of the best board breakers in the entire game, and the only other normal summon of your deck is Fabled Raven. Everything else you kind of want to be discarding. You don't really want to be normal summon them. The only times you want to normal summon them are in bad scenarios or situations where you need to normal summon a DarkWorld to then return it to the hand to then be able to get a Rainbow or the Grepher loops going. Moving on to the dangers. So for the dangers, we've got 2 Nessie, 2 Bigfoot, 2 Mothman, with 1 Jackalope, 1 Snake, and technically an honorary danger in the form of Zephyros the Elite. I think this ratio, I tried to cut it down as much as I can, and the reason I've got that is because the Mikanko or a Hime does a discard for you, and it's a controlled discard because you discard exactly what you want, and it will trigger your DarkWorld effects. The dangers themselves are just actually really, really powerful. Yes, they completely suck if they get sniped and you don't want them to be sniped, and if your luck's against you, it sucks. But it's one of these decks, or this engine is one of them engines where you have to ride your luck with it. If the luck is with you, you will be able to spam the board with dangers like no tomorrow. You'll be able to put your opponent in a position of, it's right, Nibiru me now, or I'm going to link into an Appaloosa and you're not going to be able to Nibiru me. It gives you ways of playing past the Nibiru, and it also gives you ways of triggering stuff like your dangers and your Zephyros, get rid of the brick cards in your hand and everything else. Not to mention, these just trigger when they're discarded, so they don't actually have to go to the graveyard, which is why Bigfoot is so important, because Bigfoot being discarded off its own effect or via another effect that doesn't need it to go to the graveyard would trigger its effect of being discarded to pop a face-up card on the field, and that's your out to something like a Rise Heart very early doors. Moving on to the Mikanko engine. Now, I haven't fine-tuned this version yet. I'm still working on it, but I've got 3 Orihime at the moment, or Ohime. You could, if you wanted to, reduce this, and you could play stuff like 2 Preparation of Rites and an Ohime, because they pretty much do the same thing, and you're going to be able to loop these back to the hand. because the way you're going to summon it is off of the Great Mikanko ceremony. You activate this, it lets you special summon this from the hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. This is like the base minimum of the engine, and I've kind of gone with the Reflection Rondo. I don't have the Ultra Rare, which means whatever cards is equipped to can't be destroyed by battle or card effect, I believe. But if I did get that, I might consider taking out a ceremony, and I'd probably consider putting the Ohime back down to 2, or even put it down to 1 if I wanted to. So there's still room to flex around with this. But the idea is the Ohime reveals itself in the hand to then add a Mikanko spell from the deck. So you're probably going to be going for ceremony 9 times out of 10. It then discards as effect 1 card. The ceremony is a quick effect to special summon a Mikanko monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions. So that lets you summon down the Ohime, ignoring the fact that it needs to be ritual summoned. It returns to the hand during your opponent's end phase, which is why this one can be a little bit risky, because I'll finish off the ceremony first, but basically it has during the main phase, or your main phase, you get to banish it from the graveyard to send a Mikanko card. So you send the Rodon from your deck to the graveyard. So literally just opening up Ohime with a discard gets you that full play. Now the Rondon has the ability that you equip it to an opponent's monster while you control a Mikanko monster, and you take control of that equipped monster. Neither player can activate the effect of the equipped monster while you control it. When this card leaves the field, send the equipped monster to the graveyard. Now the issue with that is if you trigger the Ohime's effect, which is a quick effect to target an equipped spell in your graveyard and equip it to an appropriate monster, if you do that during your opponent's turn, you're only going to do a quick steal, because then during the end phase, the Ohime returns to the hand, you no longer control Mikanko, which means this goes to the graveyard and the monster goes back to your opponent's board. Now obviously that's not the end of the world, because you've just got the Ohime back to the hand, which means the next turn you reveal the Ohime. The Ohime searches you out the second ceremony, you discard another DarkWorld, trigger the DarkWorld effect, activate the ceremony, special summon down the Ohime, Ohime's effect to re-equip the Rondon from the graveyard to your opponent's monster, and then steal it for either Link Climb abilities or just general battle abilities as well. Because yes, it can't activate its effects, but it can still declare attacks. So this gives you a very kind of cool interaction for both a go first option and a second option. On top of that as well, what makes the Mikanko or the Ohime so cool is that it can't be destroyed by battle or card effect. It can't be destroyed by battle, and your opponent takes any battle damage that you would have taken from battles involving this card. So going second, if your opponent's got like a 3k boss monster on the board, not only can you steal one of their monsters, but you can then also have the ability to attack with your Ohime into one of their boss monsters. They will take that battle damage, and then you can crash your opponent's monster into it so they no longer have both of them, and then you can continue to play through game, because you'll still have all of your Dark Worlds that you're going to be triggering, and obviously all those Dark Worlds that you're going to be triggering off the back of the Ohime is going to get you a little bit further. So the only thing that I would possibly change, and I'm still tweaking with this engine here, is maybe cutting the Ohimes down to either 2 with a Preparation of Rites, or cutting it down to 1 and put 2 Preparation of Rites. They kind of do the same job, because of the fact that they keep looping themselves back to the hand during the end phase and everything else. You probably don't need to rely on it so heavily. The only reason you play 3 is so you see it as early as possible. But like I said, that being said, the only reason that you'd want to get rid of it is if it gets banished, and that's when you want a second one. So maybe a 2 with a 1 might work out perfectly fine. Moving on to the last spell card, so obviously 2 trade-ins. So you've got Bigfoots off the back of this, you've got 2 Bigfoots, you've got 2 Greffers, 3 Rainbows, and then of course the Lava Golems as well. So you've got plenty of targets for trading, and it kind of does its thing. The 1 Archives and the 1 Ascension. So again, both of these do their job well. You've just got to be very, very careful with Rise Heart running around, because that being a Macrocosmo is probably the most dangerous thing for this deck. And that's where, if you are going second, you do need to find ways of kind of clearing it off. If you wanted to make this deck a purely anti-meta version, I have done one like that. There is, of course, the tech of the Astral Karibo that I've mentioned before, because this can give you into your rank 8 number monsters, which can lead to an OTK, or it can go into your rank 4s, which can lead you to draws or board lockdown, you name it. So I think this ratio's worked out quite nicely. The only thing that I haven't finalised yet is whether I'm happy with the 3 Rainbow or 2, and if I'm happy with the 3 Ohime, or if I want to cut that down and replace it with a Preparation of Rites. Moving on to the extra deck, of course, we do have 2 Greffa Dragon of the Overlord. So this is one of your ways to out a Nibiru. Considering a lot of people are going to be main decking Nibiru early doors, you've got to be wary of that. You also need to be aware of that possibly Drawing Lockbird may be considered as a side option for a lot of people. And you've also got to consider that Ash is now back in the main deck. So it's not the end of the world on an Ash, because you have so many ways. Like, it would be foolish for them to Ash a Danger. So the chances are you're probably going to get Ashed on something like a Genta or something like a Gates of the Dark World that will kind of take you a step back. but it's still really, really powerful. For the other XYZ monsters, or for the XYZ monsters, we've got the Dageres, obviously detach 2, draw 2, ditch 2. Like, what more could you want? It triggers as effect, so it will trigger all your Dark Worlds. The one Boguska, the one Coach King. Now, obviously, with your Fabled Raven, you could technically just sync straight into an 8 and then use that as a material to overlay into a Coach Trainer. But the idea is off of this is you want like a Rainbow, a Greffa, and then a Danger Bigfoot. So there are ways of doing it. Another really kind of cool thing with the Ohime is you could like Lava Golem your opponent, and then you summon out the Ohime. Ohime takes the Lava Golem, and then you can overlay it into a Giant Trainer, which is funny as hell. So yeah, kind of a cool option on that one. Zeus, obviously big Mac Daddy Zeus. Of course, I know that Cashters are running around and they can look at your extra deck and rip them apart. So I would feel that their main target would be Zeus, so you can double up on that if you want. And then after that point, they might start picking off other little bits and bobs. So it depends if you want to hardcore focus on your monsters, but you have quite a nice range of different options that there's no instant answer for your opponent to take out. For the Synchros, we've got the one Psychic End Punisher, the one Baron the Floor, and the one Groza Tyrant of Thunder. So obviously, Tyrant of Thunder gives you a negate and a way to trigger your Dark Worlds during your opponent's turn. Baron is just a very easy out-and-out Omni-negate. And then your Psychic End Punisher is one of the ones where if you make it as a comeback king, this will pretty much be able to win you a game. So you've got a boss monster in XYZs, in Zeus, you've got a boss monster in Fusion being your own Greffa Fusion, and then of course you've got a boss monster in Synchros. It would not be complete if you weren't playing Link, so we are playing the one Cross Sheep, the one Mutraka, Saruja, the Skull Dread, with the World Sea kind of combo. I still really like this combo. I still feel that, yes, it's a little bit more difficult because if you don't have a graveyard, you need to turn off your opponent's board. But it just gives you multiple ways of maybe not even being able to attack directly and Zeus it, but you could, in theory, go Mutraka and then lock yourself in and then Stellantis to banish the entire board, and then you still have the ability to push him for OTK. And then the last two cards is an Appaloosa and an Access Code. They're not necessary. Like, Appaloosa probably is, but that means you've got a negate in a Synchro with Baron the Floor, and you've got a negate in your Link monsters with Appaloosa. You've got a boss monster in your Link monsters with Access Code, you've got a boss monster with Zeus, and you've got a boss monster with Psychic End Punisher. So you're kind of covering as many bases as you possibly can with this deck, but you can completely deconstruct this, adapt it to how you see fit, and change it around how you want to. That's what I love about Dark Worlds, because you can play Dangers, you can play a more Mikanko Ohime heavy version, you can go for Link spam, you can go for XYZs. I've shown you the anti-meta option. If you want a different boss monster instead of the Psychic End Punisher, you've also got a Yugioh that you can, Sovereign that you can consider as well. Purely because everything's going to get banished, to make like this guy as an absolute fat stack and one punch your opponent, clear the card that's becoming an issue, and then he's going to have the ability that when stuff is banished, he can start banishing stuff as well. So this isn't in the deck, but it is an option for you to consider. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is pretty much it. So I know it's been a while since I've updated Dark Worlds. I was really waiting for the Mikankos to turn up because I really kind of wanted to, like, I had the idea when I saw the Mikankos and I was like, I'm not prepared to pay like £25 to £30 a copy. So I ended up getting one in trade, and then I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and then it hit the spike. So the spike then took them to like 45, 50 a piece, and then some dude had some up the other day for a really good offer, and I had a trade card that he wanted, so I was able to pick them up, and I was like, yay, finally, they arrived today, and I was like, you know what, I am 100% building this Dark World deck that I've been waiting to do for so long now. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's given you a couple of ideas of your own ones. I know Ohime is a bit expensive, but it's kind of dropped to a bit of a low now at about £25 a copy. And like I said, you can actually swap it out for Preparation of Rites, in theory. So you could go for one Ohime and two Preparation of Rites, which are dirt cheap. And the cards that we were using to back up the Ohime were rares, so they should be able to be picked up for like 50p on tier 0 games. So very, very cheap, very, very easy to do once you get at least one Ohime. And then the deck is crazy fun, and it gives you a very cool board disruptor going second, but also a very cool board disruptor going first as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, as absolutely always, guys, stay safe, and of course, happy dueling.